Okay, so we all know that the adverse psychological impact of abortion on women, 81% are high risk of subsequent mental health problems compared to women who have not had abortion. Women with a history of abortion have higher rates of anxiety, depression, alcohol use, misuse, marijuana use, suicidal behavior compared to those who have not had an abortion. So I want to just say one thing about this slide before, because it's going to tie into some things I'm going to say later. And there was a study, a recent study that was done by Paul Swopes and Charles Kinney, who, I don't know if some of you know, but they did the study, Abortion, the Failure to Communicate, that was in First Things magazine, where they talked about abortion being the lesser of the three evils. I'm not going to really talk too much about that study, but one of the things they say is that women, one of the things they found in a new study that they've done called A New Understanding of the Trauma of Abortion, is that women who experience regret after abortion say they wish they had sought kind, loving guidance when struggling with their decision. So I just want to throw that in there as something we're going to talk about. Okay, what about adoption? We're going to talk a little bit more about this, but let's see. Fewer than 1% of unmarried pregnant women choose to place their children in an adoptive home. Substantial decrease in adoption since 1973. You can see the numbers there, 19.3% to 1.7% among Caucasian women, and 8.7% to 0.9% among all races. So this, when we get to what to do now, what we do now, it's certainly something that we need to sort of brainstorm about, at least, you know, what to do about that small number of women that choose adoption.
Question. Those numbers are decreased from some level.
Since 1973.
Yeah. There's no absolute level. What? That's the decrease. What it says now. That's a decrease from some number.
From 1973, whatever the number was in 1973. I don't know what the exact number is. I can't tell you that. I just know. That's the percentage. The exact number, I don't know. I don't have that. Okay, so now we're going to talk a little bit about the abortion decisions. So we're getting back to woman, so what research has found, the little research that's there, is that the woman feels that she's between two choices: her life or the baby's life. And so that is what her experience is like. And for a lot of these women, when they come into the office, when I see them in this state, it's like an explosion in their life. And they just can't, their anxiety is, we go, the stress and fear. So stress and fear can play a large part in a woman's abortion decision. When women are pregnant and frightened, the instinct for self-preservation takes over. That's not women, that's everybody. And pregnant women who feel that the pregnancy may seem as a life-threatening problem, and pregnant women who feel this way will do whatever is necessary to escape the problem. It is in this mode that women seek abortion. Later, when reality sets in, they may be puzzled and even horrified that they could have had an abortion. So we're going to talk a little bit about the fear. Fear is what continuing a pregnancy will mean to a relationship and economic situation. She's afraid she'll be alone and unsupported. She's afraid that she does not have the strength to bring her child to birth. She's afraid that she can neither raise a child or place her child in an adoptive home. And then, for many of our clients especially, these fears are coupled with profound hardship, such as domestic violence, homelessness, unemployment, addiction, mental and physical illness. So, the interesting piece in this study, A New Understanding of Abortion, is that the decision-making process is actually comprised of two steps. So the woman doesn't see, here she is, she's in this unbelievable stressful situation. And, you know, to us standing outside, it's hard to understand the dynamics behind her decision to abort, but it's the stress and the fear are very, very real to her. And so she's not thinking, oh, should I choose abortion? Should I choose to continue the pregnancy, or should I choose adoption? She's just making a decision a lot of times about whether or not she's going to choose the abortion or not. And so as a counselor and as people, we have to sort of be sensitive to that. Once she decides that she can't, for some whatever reason, to have the abortion, that's when she makes the decision between parenting the child or choosing adoption. So, somehow this got a little, so abandonment, I want to talk about that for a minute. So pregnancy help, I'm going to talk a little bit later about our program. We have women from all walks of life. And they are 13, we have them 13 to 50 years of age. They come from, most of them are from the inner city, but I had a medical student in my office. We have students, we have young teen, white suburban girls, we have women who've had 4 or 5 children. We have every sort of diverse situation. But the most common theme of all of our clients that are served by Pregnancy Help is the theme of abandonment. And so I want to highlight this because it's sort of a fallout of the abortion, of this seen as a choice. So if it's a choice, right, and I don't agree with that choice, I don't really have to be there for you, right? If I'm the father, or if I'm your mother, or if I'm your sister, or whoever you're looking to come in and to help you, to be there for you, why? It's your choice, you live with it, and that has become sort of a pervasive attitude. And so it is the most painful of all the difficulties, and that the most painful is when it comes to the woman's mother. And a matter of fact, there was a study we did a study, and in the research we found that when the person who's experiencing the crisis pregnancy, when her mother is supportive of her continuing the pregnancy, most of the time she continues the pregnancy. When her mother says, oh, you can't do this, how are you going to raise that kid? I'm not helping, you're on your own. You need to have the abortion. She has the abortion most of the time. Not all the time, and that's why we're there. So it's described, and when women talk afterwards, when you interview women who've gone through a crisis pregnancy and they have, and they talk about their experience, the thing that they talk about that they remember, maybe they had the most difficult labor, maybe they had this happen or that happen, they were homeless. The thing they talk about most is the most painful part of the experience is the abandonment. And this is why pregnancy resource centers, this is why 3,000 pregnancy resource centers, even though that sounds like a large number, is so important, because this is what our biggest thing that we do for these women is we are there for them. Okay, so I want to say one more thing. This is our brochure, and actually, Mary Ann, I gotta give her credit for the little quote there. Something inside me said abortion was not the solution. And so, one of the things in this study that I've been talking about by Paul Swopes and Kenny is that they found that women, who do you reach? There are women, and we talked about how this has been part of human nature since the beginning of time. And I had women in my office who would get an abortion if it was illegal. They are 100% that is what they want, and nothing's going to stop them. So the women who are reachable are the ones who are troubled, the ones that are in conflict, the ones that aren't quite sure. And what I feel is really important in terms of our advertising and our reaching out to women is to target those women and to get them to get in touch with that little tiny spark inside them that isn't quite sure and that get them to stop and take that moment. So we're gonna see, here we go. So I'm going to talk a little bit about our program. I've talked about it already a little bit. So Pregnancy Help is a center of assistance, and probably Father mentioned Evangeline Vitae there, but maybe didn't realize that there is a quote in there calling for crisis pregnancy centers, a center of assistance. And so John Paul II wrote a center of assistance where unmarried mothers and couples in difficulty discover new hope and find assistance and support in overcoming hardship and the fear of accepting a newly conceived life or life which has just come into the world. And that really essentially says it all. So it's the new hope and overcoming fear and accepting the newly conceived life. That's what Pregnancy Help, that's what Crisis Pregnancy Centers, that's our mission. And he's so eloquent, he said it right there. So let's talk a little bit about us. We're an outreach ministry of the Pro-Life Office of the Archdiocese of Boston, and we're unique in that way. We've been trying to sort of figure out how many other pregnancy resource centers are sponsored by a archdiocese in the country, and I think we've maybe figured out maybe there's like 4 or 5. Some are Catholic with Catholic Charities. Most of the pregnancy resource centers are sort of a non-denominational group that come together and work together. But we are a outreach ministry of the Archdiocese. And that brings a lot of, there's a lot of positive things that come with that. We have 2 locations, just in case you want to know where to find us. We are at Brighton Marine Health Center in Brighton, and we have a satellite office in Natick. And we've always, I didn't really get too much into our history. We are celebrating our 40th year. We were founded on the grounds of St. Elizabeth's Hospital by Alice Ann Grayson back in 1973. So we've always had an affiliation with St. Elizabeth, even though we're at Brighton Marine Health Center. It's just right, like 2 buildings down, and there's a lot of St. Elizabeth's doctors there. And we also are unique in that we serve women in Spanish, Portuguese, and English, and I would have to say that's unique in the sense that we don't have translators, we have actual counselors that speak those languages. And we have found that that is an absolute priority for us, because a lot of the South American women that come here are not enculturated into the abortion mindset. And so, it's not, a career choice, or whatever, this ambiguous sort of decision-making that they go through. It's really heart-wrenching for them. And so if we can be there with a little bit of support, we have really good success. So we really want to be very present to those communities.